Here's one of the renovations we're doing to some of the Lionel products at our Lionel layout renovation project. So this is a pretty classic signal crossing crossbuck. And even when I was a little kid and my dad and I had this, it always sort of surprised me that these lamps were red. And the light's not on, but they painted these bulbs. They didn't have red bulbs back then, so they painted the white bulbs red. And of course, they're always red, and they should be off when the train is not there. So minor thing, but I was, that's the way I thought when I was a little kid. So what we're going to do is for all of the renovations, our signal controllers require LEDs. An LED is required because the light on this is turned on and off very quickly in order to adjust the brightness. That's called pulse width modulation. You don't have to know that, but just know that if we hook this up to regular incandescent bulbs, it'll burn them out. What we found after some hunting is some LED bulbs. These are 12-volt bulbs. They're LED, and there's a little circuit board inside of this thing, believe it or not. So that just tells you how far we've come from just basic filament bulbs. And so this first part's really simple. These are bayonet style, not screw style. And so you just push it in a little bit and pop it out, and there is the old bulb. And you can see that it's painted, and this one still works, so we're going to keep it around for posterity, I guess. So I'll have a little bag of those. So we'll pop both of these out, and sometimes it takes a little bit. It's a left push and slight to the left turn to get it out. So if you're wrestling with it, just push it, and just a little nudge to the left will do it. And so I'm just going to put the new one in, push it, and twist it slightly to the right. And there's the first one, and here is the second one. Just push that in and twist it. All right, so there we go. What I've done is I've taken our standard LED signal controller. I've connected a ground wire. We're going to run this in classic cathode mode, which means common ground. That's this wire. And we're just going to hook it up to the number one terminal, which is the far terminal. Number one terminal on all of these is the base. The whole metal casting is ground. So we're going to connect that up just like that. And it really doesn't matter these other two, just as long as they're connected. And we set the signal controller into the crossing flasher mode. Just tighten that up a little bit. So pretty simple, just the three wires there. And we have our power module over here, and I'm going to just take the power cord and connect it to the signal controller. Its power light, blue light, is going to go on. And one of the ways to test that things are working is this top terminal over here is ground, and the bottom one is the detect. And so if I just take a jumper wire here and connect the two, that triggers the signal, and you can see that the lights are on, and it looks great. And you can adjust the brightness like everything else. And that's just terrific. So I really like this. And so when the lights are off, like I said before, they're really off. You don't get the sense that there's any red signal until the train comes along. Now, Lionel did some great, clever things without any electronics, and we'll get into that a bit more with some of the other animation products they have as we hook them up. All of these crossing gates were triggered by a pressure switch. So the train would go over, and a little thing you slide under the track, and a little pressure would connect the contacts. Really simple, pretty reliable, as long as the spring worked. But what we're going to do on our layout is we're going to be replacing them with sensors. And so they're using snap track, so it's very hard. Those pressure switches don't really sit nicely for snap track. So we're going to get rid of all those, have the snap track nicely laid down, and we're going to use the O size sensor. That's what we have here. And as the train goes by, it'll trip it, and that will trip our signal controller. And that's the same as all of our others. So we're not going to make a separate video on that. I will show you some videos of it hooked up to the layout. But you can connect this into the signal controller, and when the train goes by, the light will go on. It'll be the same as connecting and disconnecting this wire. Okay? And you can change the speed of the flashing. Let me put it back on. Let me just show you how that works. We provide the screwdriver. I'm going to just put it in here, and adjust the speed a little bit. Takes a little bit of time to get the screw. There we go. So I'm going to speed it up a little bit. Pretty fast. That would be crazy. And let's get it back to what we think is a normal speed. You can make it really slow if you like, probably in here. About that speed is probably about right. Okay, and you just leave it, and that's it. So that's the renovation of Lionel crossing gate. We sell a kit, a renovation kit, which includes the 2 bulbs. It includes a signal controller. You can hook it up to 12 volts DC, so you have that on your layout. You don't need to get a power module. If you have a lot of these and you're going to replace a bunch of them, buy the kit with the power module, and then they can all be connected up to here. It's a 12 volt output, and then you can have the option of adding the sensor or keeping your pressure switches depending on what kind of track you have. So we just made that a convenience. You could probably source the bulbs yourself, but if you're going to buy the renovation kit with the signal controller, the bulbs are included.